Hi everybody. Today we're going to start a new piece. And some of you might be thinking, but we haven't finished the old piece yet. And if you haven't, or if you feel like you haven't, it's okay. I would like to just start something new so we can feel like we're moving forward. And if you want to continue working on Snow Flight exclusively or Waltz and G, both are very, very good pieces for you. That's fine with me. But I want to give those who feel like they're ready to move on a chance to do so. So I'm going to play through this piece all the way through at a rather slow tempo, and then we'll stop and talk about it. We'll break it down a little bit. So here we go. And there we have it. Let's talk about the basics just for a moment. Start with the title, Allegro. What does Allegro mean? Well, in class I said, answer, it's a dance. And in this case, I'm afraid you'd be wrong, because Allegro is not a dance, but it just is a tempo indication, and it means fast. I played it slow, just so that you can see what's going on. And plus, I don't want to play fast if I don't have to. So, but it's supposed to be fairly fast, but let's not worry about that right now. The composer Mauro Giuliani is one of the giants of the 19th century of guitar, which was a really important era for classical guitar. Talking about key signature for a moment, we're in the key of A minor, and you can see A minor is no sharps and no flats. A lot of you know that C major is no sharps and no flats, but each major key also has a relative minor key, and A minor is C major's relative minor key, so no sharps and no flats. Now you might be saying, well, if I go to the fifth measure of this piece, I see a sharp, so you're not telling us the truth. And you're right, there is a sharp in there, but that's called an accidental, and that's just for that measure only. So in the next measure, for example, there's a G sharp, but it's only for that measure. Now keep in mind, by the way, that once there's a sharp in the measure, that means all the other G's in that measure are sharped too. We'll talk about that when we get to that measure, but just so you're not confused. So no sharps and no flats except for the occasional accidentals. Then the time signature, we're in 4/4 time, 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets 1 count. So if the quarter note is going 1, 2, 3, 4, then the eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 or played 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'll play what I mean is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we don't really have to count that much because everything is in the eighth note pulse, but it's important to know how we've come to that point of playing eighth notes in succession like that. Okay, let's look at the right hand first. And remember, just a quick review, P is the thumb, pulgar, I, M, and A. Right hand letters, left hand numbers. So remember, P, I, M, A. And in this case, the thumb is going to play the fifth string. You can see the very first note, and it's got a very small P next to it, or underneath it, which means play that A with the thumb, like this. Then the next note, we have an A on the second fret of the third string, and a C on the first fret of the second string. And then, but I still just want to look at my right hand here. So we're going to be playing P, I, M, I, A, I, M, I. again. I hope you can see. P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I. Emily and Sam, that's probably the best you've ever seen my right hand in the whole class. P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I. So that's a pattern that's going to happen frequently in this piece. In fact, every other measure for quite a long time is that pattern. You can see in the third measure, it's the same shape, but the letters have gone away. But in that third measure, it's the same. P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I. And then in the fifth measure, same. P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I. So this is a good pattern to practice all by itself with no left hand at all. P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I, P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I. And you can use it for anything. You can put a, I'm putting a C chord down with this hand and just playing P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I, G chord, A minor chord, E minor chord. So you can just mess around with that pattern. It's a good pattern just to know. Okay, so that pattern happens in measure 1. Measure 2, we have a slightly different pattern, P-I, 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 and that's much easier. So the thumb is playing the 5th string, and the index finger is on the 3rd string, P-I, 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 P-I. So if I put those two together, I'm going to play measure 1 and 2, and just focus on the right hand for a bit, and then we'll talk about the left hand. P-I-M-I-A. Sorry about that mistake. I'm going to do it again. P-I-M-I-A-M-I-P-I-P-I-P-I, and so on. And that happens all the way through the end of the 4th measure. And that's how far, or 4th line, excuse me. That's how far we're going to go today, into the end of the 4th line. The left hand, we have some, what you could call chord shapes. So the first measure I talked about a little bit already. We have the 2nd finger on A on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then 1st finger on C, and then we have an open E up on the with the A finger. So that first measure then is just holding these two down while playing that pattern. So this is measure 1. Measure 2. The 2nd finger stays where it is, and we're going to use the 1st finger for B. Some of you will be tempted to play that B on the 1st fret, but don't be fooled by the fingerings. That B is on the 2nd fret. So we have, and then 3rd, open. So we have something that's important to note is that all the way through till the beginning of the 5th measure, we can leave the 2nd finger on the 3rd string on that A. If you look through, you'll see the 2nd finger is on A for 4 complete measures. Another interesting point to make is that in measure 3, it changes pretty dramatically. In other words, we still have the 2nd finger here, but the 4th finger drops in for D, and the 1st finger drops in for F. It looks like a D minor shape to the people that remember D minor. We've been over it, I think, but some of you know it anyway. Most of you would probably use the 3rd finger for that D, but the 4th finger, remember my word balance. It's more balanced, and also it's going to allow you to play the next measure easier. But what I'd like to point out to you is that going from measure 2 to measure 3, let's see if I can get a better view here. I don't have to put everything down at once. Did you see the way I did that? I put down the 4th finger first and then the 1st finger. And after a while, they go down pretty much together, but it's still a slight lag. So, see the way I did that? My 1st finger is last. Don't feel like you have to find that all at once. And I know that sounds hypocritical because I've told you in the past that sometimes you do have to put everything down at once, but in this case you don't. And it's more musical if you don't. So from measure 1, we can leave the second finger on A to play through measure 2, still there. Measure 3, it's still there. Finally, measure 4, we have to change. And those of you who are paying attention, I did make a mistake in the third line. If you can find it, you'll get extra points. Okay, so I'm gonna end this video there. I think I covered enough to get you started with it. Hopefully you still have your little sheet of notes in the natural notes in the open position. If you don't, then I don't know what I'm gonna do because I can't go to back to my office to get it. We will talk on Tuesday. I'm going to post this on our YouTube channel called Skidmore Guitar, and I'll give you details of that in an email. So talk to you later. Bye.